Also this, why the Pentagon is canceling what would have been an Air Force Base's third annual drag show. This morning, the Pentagon is ordering a Nevada Air Force Base to cancel a drag show set for today. This, of course, is the first day of Pride Month. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has spoken in support of Pride Month in the military. A Pentagon spokeswoman, however, says he has now drawn a line at allowing shows to be hosted at military bases because, we're quoting here, hosting these types of events in federally funded facilities is not a suitable use of DoD resources. CNN's Natasha Bertrand joining us now live from the Pentagon. So what's, I think, perhaps even more interesting, Natasha, is that Nellis Air Force Base has already hosted two drag events in the past. Third time is not the charm here. So why the about-face from the Pentagon in 2023?
Yeah, Erica, so this would have been the third drag show that Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada would have hosted in celebration of Pride Month. They have done this numerous times before. But this year, the Pentagon actually stepped in to cancel it. It had already been approved by Air Force leaders and it was set to move forward. But when Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin found out about it, the fact that it was moving forward, he stepped in and he ordered that it be canceled. Now, this obviously comes at a moment when these kinds of drag shows are becoming politically contentious, with conservative policymakers, Republicans on the Hill, arguing that these military bases should not be hosting these events because they should not be essentially using taxpayer money to fund them. And we should play a clip from the House Armed Services Committee hearing on March 29th when Representative Matt Gaetz, a Republican, questioned Austin and Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley very angrily about these drag shows that have been taking place on bases across the country. Here, take a listen.
At Nellis Air Force Base, you had the Drag You Nellis on June 17th. Who funded these things, Mr. Secretary?
Listen, drag shows are not something that the Department of Defense supports or funds. So.
But wait, why are they happening on military bases? I just showed you the evidence. Why are they happening?
I will say again, this is not something that we support or fund.
That's the first I'm hearing about that kind of stuff. I don't read those news stories. I don't know what you're talking about. I'd like to take a look at those because I don't agree with those.
So as you mentioned, Erica, Austin has spoken out in support of Pride Month in the military before. He has said, quote, LGBTQ plus citizens have fought to defend our rights and freedoms from the founding of our nation to the Civil War and beyond. But obviously, given the politically contentious environment and his testimony that where he specifically said that the military does not support or fund these kinds of drag shows on bases at this time, the military wanted to make sure that that his testimony was accurate. And so now what we're seeing is, according to an Air Force official, they say that consistent with his congressional testimony, the Air Force will not host drag events anymore at these installations or facilities. Erica.
Coming up for us, a drag show was set to return to an Air Force base today, and it has now been canceled. Why the Pentagon intervened. So a drag show that was set to return to the U.S. Air Force Base, set to return to a U.S. Air Force Base for a third year, has now been canceled. The show was scheduled for today at the Nellis Air Force Base just outside of Las Vegas. And according to two defense officials, the schedule changed after the Pentagon intervened. CNN's Natasha Bertrand is at the Pentagon for us. She's joining us now. Natasha, what's going on here? What are you picking up?
Yeah, Kate, so this would have been the third drag show that Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada would have held in the last 3 years. And it was canceled abruptly after the Pentagon intervened on Wednesday, we are told, telling leaders there that the show could not actually move forward. Now, it is unclear exactly why it was canceled, but the prevailing defense that we've gotten from the Pentagon is that essentially they decided that this was not a good use of Pentagon resources. But this all really goes back to a hearing in March before the House Armed Services Committee where Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley were actually grilled by Republican Representative Matt Gaetz about the provenance of these drag shows on military bases across the United States, and he questioned them about why military installations were being used to host these shows. Here's what they said.
At Nellis Air Force Base, you had the Drag You Nellis on June 17th. Who funded these things, Mr. Secretary?
Listen, drag shows are not something that the Department of Defense supports or funds. So.
But wait, why are they happening on military bases? I just showed you the evidence. Why are they happening?
I will say again, this is not something that we support or fund.
So essentially, in order to maintain the consistency there of Austin's statements, the Pentagon decided that this show that was supposed to happen today to mark the start of Pride Month would not move forward. And an Air Force official did tell us in a statement that, quote, consistent with Secretary Austin's congressional testimony, the Air Force will not host drag events at its installations or facilities. Commanders have been directed to either cancel or relocate these events to an off-base location. Kate.